No, in Benghazi we did have. In Benghazi we had strange cases of people claiming to be of Maltese descent. Some of them even said they have never been to Malta, or that they last came 36 years ago. But they are big families, second, third generations. And they were not happy with just being guided how to come out of Libya, but they also wanted to know how much insurance, social support they would have, and even wanting accommodation. And they said, no, we're very sorry, we simply cannot promise accommodation because we still have our own lists for the Maltese who are living in Malta. Look, you've got to realize that you're listening to people who have been under extreme psychological stress, coming out of a war zone, and many of them were not really physically, at the thick of it. They weren't actually, where bombs were falling, where the fighting was taking place. Psychologically, they were afraid that they were in this huge country. Let's not forget, we're talking about a country which is big enough to swallow Spain, Germany, France, and Poland. We're talking about vast expanses of land. And the biggest nightmare of all these people was that, what if the airports are closed? What if the ports are closed? What do we do? And how do we journey? How do we travel from where we are to come to the airport? Because even in Benghazi, these last few days, we're having different news telling us that Benghazi port is going to close, and then all of a sudden you find out it's not true. So I think that one will have to take their comments from this angle. I sympathize with them. I fully understand their emotional status, and I can understand why they spoke the way they did. The one who was speaking at the airport, I'm sure it was out of emotional constraints, because the large number of emails that he exchanged with our crisis center, and when I say large, I mean 13, 14. He was ever so nice, polite, cooperative, and thankful for what we were doing for him. And besides that, he even phoned about 6 or 7 times. So there was contact. But maybe what he could not understand is the fact that we did not have the means to actually pick him out from his desert posting. That's very important. The other one, who was dragging his feet to fork out 750 euros for a wife and 2 children, I don't want to go into that. I mean, I spent on one occasion, apart from the pepperoni, he was phoning 3, 4 times over here, taking each phone call 10, 15 minutes. Once I spent 10 minutes, in the middle of a street in Brussels, explaining to him the logistics and what it meant for him to bring his wife out. When in the middle of it, his wife even went to her family on Airport Road, the area which we're saying, don't go over there. I mean, when you say you're evacuating, you evacuate, you bring out your embassy, your ambassador, you close the embassy and everything. That's evacuation. You're calling it a day completely, and you're relaying the message to the host country that you've lost faith in them. And that is the worst message that you can give to the Libyans, which we don't want to. No, the scenario is totally different from 2011. And it's simple to understand. In 2011, you had the whole country revolting against the regime. So you had even a revolutionary council, which eventually turned itself into a national transitional council. I mean, there was a sort of an organized, there was a body to deal with. Today, there is nobody to deal with. And the most important body at the moment is the elected House of Representatives, which met in Tobruk, practically on the Egyptian border, and is fairly representative, even though the people from Misurata have boycotted. I mean, about 30 representatives from Misurata did not attend the opening session. Well, I think you should ask that to who said these things. So, right from the very beginning, even the Prime Minister himself in Parliament spoke about abduction, ma'boot in Maltese, Rajal ma'boot. Personally, I never had any indications as to whether he was or he was not abducted. He was obviously held against his will. He wasn't allowed to phone family. I mean, if you're not abducted, because there were voices that he was kept for his own security, no?
Yes.
Had that been the case, he would have been, given all the facilities to contact his wife and everybody. No, I never thought, in other terms than abduction. He was abducted, obviously.
When Mr. Gallia landed on home ground, Dr. Marisa Farrugia seemed to have been sidelined. This is what was seen from
No, I don't see what you're driving at. I've been reading about this for in many papers. I mean, she was the first one to come down from the plane. I mean, there are photos of her being congratulated by the Prime Minister himself. Then she came up to me, and I knew because, together with the Permanent Secretary, we had been involved for days, exchanging information, data, giving instructions. I mean, it was a very emotional moment. I can tell you that. I mean, seeing a person coming back, because what was our main motive? Seeing the gentleman back home safe and sound.
Yes.
Period. That's the whole. I don't see why this sort of dissecting into where she was placed, what the Prime Minister said. I don't know. Absolutely.
There were some allegations on visa rackets in Libya. Were they unfounded allegations?
Those were. I mean. You mean allegations? Well, some papers even spoke about them.
Some visa rackets in the consulate.
Was she charged with anything?
No, I'm asking you.
No, I'm asking a rhetorical question. Was she charged with anything? There were allegations, but allegations remain allegations until proved. She's back in service. She was never suspended, contrary to public or allegations in the paper. She was never suspended. And up to this very day, I can say, I don't know whether she was being investigated by the police or helping the police in investigations.